Welkom bij CoLab, de podcastserie van Cresco, het advocatenkantoor voor ondernemers. In deze podcast gaan we in gesprek met enkele van de meest gedreven ondernemers, marktleiders en innovatoren die het verschil maken. We hopen dat hun verhalen je niet alleen informeren, maar vooral inspireren op je eigen ondernemersreis. Laten we starten met de aflevering van vandaag.
Good morning. Welcome, Quentin, at our Cresco office, and thank you very much for participating at our CoLab podcast series. I'm very honored to welcome you. You're the CEO and co-founder of Qover, an insurtech company, Belgian-based insurtech company that exists for over 10 years now. Can you introduce a bit yourself and what is Qover doing?
Yeah, so thanks first of all for having me here. I'm super happy to be at the podcast. So I'm Quentin Colmant, Quentin in English. I'm indeed the founder of and CEO of Qover. So my background, I worked first in the insurance sector, about 8 years at Allianz, and then in 2016, I decided alongside with Jean-Charles Velge to launch this company Qover. On the personal law note, I have more background as a civil engineer in applied mathematics. I have a master in finance. I have an MBA. I'm the proud father of 3 young kids. They are 8, 5, and 2 at the moment we speak. So that's about myself. And if we look about Qover, the mission of Qover is to enable any businesses at a European level, including the UK, to integrate insurance into their value proposition. So we do that on a multi-country, pan-European basis. It's, of course, a digital-first approach. And we are a kind of orchestrator. So we orchestrate embedded insurance. Why orchestration? Because when you do embedded insurance, there are several pillars you need to execute. On one side, you need a platform that can build bespoke insurance product that makes sense for leading brands distributing it. So you don't build the same product for all your partner. For every partner, you have to define the right insurance product coverage. And so from a technical perspective, you need a set of API that can be integrated in any type of ecosystem. So we've built this proprietary platform that is also compliant with the local regulation in each and every country. The second pillar is the servicing, because at the end we need to serve the client, the final client who might have a question on his contract, want to renew, cancel as a claim. So we do have the customer care services and the claim management people to handle those requests from the clients. And last but not least, we are an insurance intermediary. So we have legal people, insurance specialists that are able to, create the insurance solution, source the capacity, and so on. And so this mission is really to enable any leading brands to find something that is meaningful to complete their product or their servicing by having a full value proposition towards their final customer, with the vision at the end to build what we call a global safety net. So what is the global safety net? The dream would be that people don't need to buy insurance anymore, but whatever happened to them at any time, they are fully covered because insurance is embedded in every product and services they use.
Cool. It sounds complex, and if can you take me back in time? You're at Allianz. You worked there for 8 years. How do you come to the idea to launch an insurtech company specializing or focusing on embedded insurance products?
I mean, first of all, I don't think anyone decide to go into the insurance field. So by accident, I applied to different companies. One of them was Allianz, and then I got a very nice opportunity. And what did happen is that after 4 years, I decided to do an MBA, and Allianz was keen enough to finance this MBA. And I think no corporate should pay for an MBA, because when you do that, it reopens all the doors of the future. In the sense that when you start a career in an industry, you believe you are stuck in a given industry. But suddenly when you do an MBA, you are connected with many people from different horizons, with different careers and so on. And so at that moment, it kind of triggered me potentially one day to become an entrepreneur. I was not sure. But for the little story at that time, my wife actually is a specialist in selling art. So she sells contemporary artworks. And she asked me when I was at the MBA back in 2012, Could you help me to build a website so I can sell art online? And so, today in 25, that's super easy because there are a lot of tools, even AI generator website and so on. But back in 2012, there was not that many options. And when I build a website, at a certain moment, you had to integrate a payment solution because you want people to buy online. Today, a payment solution is very easy, but at that time, that was not easy. And so I found the tool called Ogon, and we know because, by the way, the founders of Ogon, they've been a business angel at Qover. And when I did the implementation and I went live in production, it was not working. So I called them and say, why is it not working? And they say, oh, but we are a payment gateway. You also need a merchant account. And I'm like, what is a merchant account? I don't know. So basically, they give me some references. I call them, and all of them say, oh, but you are selling art. That's one of our forbidden business. We don't do drugs, we don't do casino game, and we don't do art because of the risk of money laundering. And so overnight, I was stuck with a contract that I had to pay, but I could not proceed payment. And I found at that time a little company called Stripe, which is today not small anymore. And they were looking for beta tester. And so I subscribed it to be a beta tester, and I did the implementation. And that was amazing. Like, it went super fast, super convenient. And at that moment, I was thinking, oh, but could we do the Stripe for insurance? And that was, one of the origination to understand, could we build something as simple as Stripe, a set of API where any companies could just have a look at the library, implement the API, and start to integrate insurance into their value proposition. And that's a bit, of course, it's a bit more complex than that. But, a lot of disruptive entrepreneurs, they are driven often by opportunity. And that's basically the first part of the opportunity I found. It's something super convenient. And at the same moment, I was looking at the evolution of the market. And there was a kind of change in paradigm where a lot of companies were, built on a country by country basis. And there was, with the digitalization, the emergence of multi-country business. Take, for example, the neobank Revolut. It's one app, one product, one services, one process for all countries. And so those kind of players that are multi-country, digital first, they need an insurance solution that is digital, but that is also pan-European. And if they would go to global insurance companies, and I'm not going to name them, but you know all of them, they are covering Europe by building a local insurance factory in every country. But so when those players need an harmonized insurance multi-country, it doesn't work because they will need to deal with local entities. And so, this change of paradigm of digitalization, multi-country, API of insurance, type of insurance was a kind of, possibility to build a new opportunity. And at the same moment, my associate Jean-Charles was in Hong Kong. He did an MBA in Hong Kong. And, with those WeChat and so on that he see emerge big time over there, he understood that going insurance, going embedded finance could have a massive potential. And it was at that moment the right timing for both of us, me to leave Allianz because I did my 3 years post MBA.
Yeah.
For him, it was time to go back from Hong Kong, and then we launched the business together.
Okay. Cool. And then, you start the business in an incubator. We've met there at the coffee corner. I still remember two ambitious young men starting a business on a flip chart. Now, 10 years later, you've grown the company. Think you're more than 100 people.
150, yeah.
Yeah, 150 in different countries. What is, if you would say, what is the biggest challenge that you face to bring it from 0 to 150 now?
It's a tough question because if you would have asked me the question 9 years ago or 5 years ago or 3 years ago, my answer would have been totally different because we tend always to be focused or to, overweight the recent event. So sometimes when I look what's the company today, it looks so much broad, so much sophisticated. We do insurance for Tesla, for Revolut, for MasterCard, for Deliveroo, that I'm like, but how have I built this? I'm even surprised myself to see the level of autonomy, how the business works, operates, and so on. And so it's a long story, of course, but at the end, the challenges we face, all challenges. We had product failure, we had product success, and we did not understand why it was failing or why it was successful. We had moment where we invested thousands of euro or even millions in launching massive deal, and the clients went bankrupt, so it never went live, and we had like 3 bankruptcies of clients. We had moment where we were like short in cash, so you need to fight hard because your runway is very short. We had the Brexit. Brexit was important for us because as a regulated business, then it means that we had to open a branch over there and be regulated by the British regulator. The pandemic, we were very active in travel insurance when the pandemic hit. And so overnight, we did zero sale for travel insurance. And then you have all the usual stories, difficult situation sometimes with shareholders, with employees. You have the usual run maintenance problems. So let's be clear, it's a roller coaster. It's an emotional roller coaster. You only have problems, you have only major complexities you have to face. But at the end, it's just the usual challenge of being an entrepreneur, right?
Mhm.
An entrepreneurial journey is such a journey. So, when you ask me what were the key challenges, someone know that we are almost 10 years down the road. I think I just face all the usual tough challenges that any entrepreneur can face.
Mhm.
And so the question is more, what do you need to mitigate or to navigate through those challenges? And if you recall, we always say that investors at the early stage, they don't really invest in the idea or in the business, but in the people and in the team, because this is what does matter. And to navigate all those challenges, what you need is endless resiliences. But not, and it's like the extra mile of endless resiliences, because it's tough. It's really tough. You need to fight hard. You need to work hard. You will be over a same day, you will believe you will become a unicorn, and then 1 hour later, you believe you will go bankrupt. It's an absolute nightmare, but it's super exciting. It's intense. And the first characteristic you need, of course, you need to be able to adjust your product, to pivot, sometimes a
Mhm.
bit or massively. You need to recruit the right people. You need to dare to take tough decisions. But at the end, it all ends up to endless resilience.
And if you look back and you would start all over again from a blank sheet, what are the things you would never do again? What are the big mistakes you made? And
So yeah, so I think for me, for the joke, I always say the biggest mistake is to start a business in a regulated industry,
yes,
because
yeah,
it's really tough, because you have to invest a lot in the compliance, in the DPO, in the different act. You have the DORA Act typically for the banking industry. You have the AI. So, but the insurance is super regulated, and that's tough to navigate. But I think my best piece of advice, and that's maybe the biggest mistake we have done. And on one side is the biggest mistake, and it's also the best thing we have ever done. When you do a business, you can choose between an horizontal play or a vertical play. A vertical play, you mean you identify a specific niche that is big enough to create a nice market, but that is specific enough so you can really build a value proposition that is really, the best one, super focused, and so you can outbeat every competitor on the market.
mhm,
We have decided to do an horizontal play because, we are active in the automotive space, we are active in the financial industry space, in the travel space, in the e-commerce space. We do motor insurance, we do travel insurance, we do, it's insurance.
yeah,
But what you need for motor insurance and travel insurance are totally different from a servicing, satellite product, and so on and so on. And so this horizontal play costs a lot because you can never be better in one single vertical than a competitor that is only doing that. We are facing, RFP, where other insurtech are only doing automotive industry.
yeah,
And usually they are like a bit better than us. But the horizontal play, once you crack it, when you are successful, you can scale it on an exponential level. You have a diversification of risk. You have a business that is more resilient, and so on. But so that would be my piece of advice. Still, it's a tough things to do. And this kind of horizontal play, you should maybe wait a bit and start with something very focused, very specific, but sizable enough.
Okay, okay. You already touched a bit on it, and the importance of investors, or investors who believe in the team, who challenge you, um, who make you resilient. Um, you started with, uh, let's say, early believers, Belgian investors, but then right during your first serious funding round, you immediately were seeking for international investors. Is that uh, a deliberate choice as from the beginning? Is that important, do you think, to scale a business like yours or a business in general?
But for me, first of all, there is a financial reality behind that, that as a founder, you have everything in the same basket. And just from a diversification of risk, bringing external capital help you
Mhm.
to lower your risk return function. As simple as that. And it's proven by financial models. Huh? So I'm a big believer of that. I also believe that we had from day one the ambition to be global and not, only Belgian based. And today, you need to be European to be sizable as a business.
Mhm.
And when you think about it, I know a lot of people believe let's start small, prove the product, then expand. People are scared about, being diluted by raising external capital. Then I recommend those people to look at the founder dilemma. Do you want to be rich or king? It's a quite well-known framework. And basically what it says is that by getting external capital, you can take more risk, you can iterate more, you can launch more product, more markets, you can recruit better talent. And whenever you have a good idea, because with internet, everything is connected, the world is connected, anyone will see your idea.
Mhm.
And so anyone can copy, and if they have access to massive capital, then they can accelerate, go much faster, much better. And so for me, getting international capital is first, getting capital is important to go fast, to grow, to be ambitious. And I would never dare to take the family, friends, and full capital, because the first thing is that, of course, most company fail. So the next Christmas dinner will be a bit difficult with your grandmother if you crash her money. But on top of that, they are not a validation point. When a VC, the job of a VC is to scout the market continuously. So from the moment VC say, "Oh, you are onto something, and I want to invest," it's actually a very strong validation point for you as a founder that someone who is scouting the entire world truly believe that your business is worth something.
Mhm.
Your family is not able, to have the same kind of validation. So getting capital is critical for validation, for diversification of risk, increasing the net present value of
Mm.
your entrepreneurial journey. And last but not least, for me, it's important to get, there are a lot of questions, what is smart money about? And if you go, every investor will tell you, I have some people that can coach you, that can help you. I have a portfolio. I have a nice ecosystem. The reality, smart money for me is only the brand name of the VC. Because if you partner with a tier one VC, it will attract other tier one VC. It's the kind of the fear of missing
FOMO.
out, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that is critical to get those international and tier one VC.
Okay. And is there one advice you can give to people who are currently seeking for funding? What do they need to bear in mind when they're connecting with VCs or interacting with VCs to make the right decision as to which VC or which kind of investor suits the best for the company?
But I mean, first of all, keep in mind that looking for money when you need money is too late. Huh? So what I like to
Yeah,
say is that
there also you have
you
two
you you
scholars, huh?
absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah. But
yeah.
your next fundraising starts the day after you finalize the previous fundraising, because you need to establish a relationship, a contact. You don't knock at the door of someone, say, "Hey, hello, I'm Quentin. I need 5 million euro to launch my business."
Mhm.
You need to build relationship, and it's important. And through the building of this relationship, you will kind of get a feeling about how they are, how they behave, who they are. You certainly need to look at their market reputation online to kind of call yourself, every VC, you go on the website, they show the portfolio, and I'm pretty sure by looking at the portfolio, you can directly reach out to some founder asking for a feedback. The Belgian tech community will be always happy to help, and so via your network, try to get a sense of feeling or who they are. But advice number one is that take the time to build a relationship, to know them step by step, because even at every stage of the life of the company, you will need different type of VC. The early stage VC are not the same than the growth VC or the private equity, so it's always a relationship build up continuously.
Okay. And recently, you entered into a strategic partnership with Zurich, who has also become a shareholder in your company. How do you experience the interaction between both financial investors, VC funds, and a corporate coming on board in your business? I assume that you needed it to further scale the business in the insurance sector, which is a complex environment, from what I understand. But how can you align both interests? Because I I assume that there might be conflict of interest between the two, or misalignment on future potential or future scale.
It's an interesting question. The mindset of those a strategic VC versus a traditional VC is very different. When you think about a traditional VC, um, the risk return function for them is more like zero or a big number. And usually you have this concept of total return, where the best company of your portfolio return more than the sum of all the others, and so on. And so you see that they really push you to grow. The growth is critical. They push you to grow at any price. And I recall we had, it's funny, we had a board where we are trying to crack a problem on the data aspect of managing all the data science at Qover. And we could not crack the problem. And I think we spent maybe like 500,000 euro. And we had the board and we say, look, guys, I think we spent a lot of money. We could not crack the problem. So I suggest we reduce the burn and we spend less on that one. And the VC told us, look, if by spending 500K you did not solve the problem, do you think that by spending less you will be better? So maybe you need to not cut by 2, but to double. And that's super interesting, because that's the mindset. It's to grow, go for all in. And at the end, for a VC, they don't want you to be flat or to grow by 10%. They prefer you are zero or a big number, and that's it. And so it's a kind of different mindset. Keep in mind, however, that they have a certain horizon of time. Usually they will have a fund for 10 or 10 plus 2 years. And so, of course, at a certain moment, when we get a strategic on board, they could be conflict of interest, but depending on their maturity, they also believe that that could be a possibility for them to do an exit at a certain moment. That's a certitude. I think the corporate investor is very different than the VC. And maybe I can share some pros and cons and give some insider. I think the pro of a corporate VC is that he's not short-term minded. He's very long-term minded compared to a VC.
Mhm.
And the long-term minded is super interesting, because first they know your industry, they know to your challenges, they have the same type of challenges. And so they don't look at what you could return over 2 to 3 years, but are you building something long-term, sustainable? And even though the return could be 10, 15 years, that's thing they would, pay attention to. So that's a first very positive point. Another positive point is that, we do insurance for large clients like BMW, Volvo, MasterCard, ING. And those companies, if you say, oh, I'm a scale-up that is making losses and I'm financed by VC, that can be they could be skeptical, because they face a risk. We are becoming a key supplier, and if we go bankrupt, they will be in trouble. And so now that we have a strategic investor, Zurich, when we show on paper that we have Zurich as a backer, that give a lot of comfort, and so it enables us to win deal that we could not have won otherwise, because of this comfort from a shareholder structure. And last but not least, in theory, because they are in your industry, they can bring a lot of very positive contribution to your business. Because maybe, instead of, doing a full sales cycle to convince a client to work with us, Zurich has a lot of business that they could give to us. And so it's a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy where you grow thanks to them bringing business. So that's the advantage. There are, however, negative things that you need to be aware of. And I think number one is that when a strategic investor invests, other strategic investor might be very reluctant to work with you. As an example, Allianz, AXA, Generali, they are part of the top 4 biggest insurance. It's clear that the fact that Zurich is an investor is not a positive signal for them to proactively work with us. And so you need to understand that when you get a strategic on board, on one side, you get opportunity to grow your business because they can bring deals. On the other side, you are reducing your market because de facto, it will close the door of other strategic partners. And that's important to understand. The second perspective of it is that in a VC, a partner will stay until the end of the fund. Otherwise, he lose everything. In a CVC, the strategic people are corporate people. They have a career and they rotate. And so it means that every 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they will change. And so, the relationship is difficult because we already at our third board member in 2 years. And you need to manage that. You need to build relationship. But when people rotate, the strategy also change.
Yeah.
And then, the commercial contribution that they can bring, it depends. If you build a relationship with the business, or was the deal generated by a venture arm of the corporate company? And often those venture arms are a bit detached from the business and they don't have that much influence. And so you might be in a situation where the contribution they bring is not enough to offset the fact that some other strategic player don't want to work with you. And so my best advice there would be to build as much connection with as many people as possible with the strategic, because they will rotate. And so you need, a lot of people that are supporting you. But the even more important advice is that make sure that the will to invest originate not from the venture arm, but from the business people. And that in your shareholder agreement, you have kind of penalties as well as incentive to really bring meaningful contribution to each other. Because otherwise, you might be stuck with a strategy that don't bring value, and that's not an easy situation to deal with.
And we already talked about your steep scale that you're experiencing for the time being. Would that have been possible without the assistance of a corporate as a shareholder?
Hi, it's a difficult time. I
Because
think
that's always a dilemma that we also see with clients when they ask us, okay, do you think it's you have the pros and the cons like you discussed, but it's also it's always a dilemma. Should I stay with VC funding or should I go for CVC? In your case, do you think
so.
it would have been possible to do the same without the corporate in on board?
Look, so we did our Series B in 21. And 21, money was cheap, everything was easy, valuation was skyrocketing, it was a crazy market. And then in 22, the VC market was totally dry, totally frozen. And some people thought it would last like 1 year. The reality is that in 23, it was still the case, and it started slowly back in 2023, but the market was still dry. But a lot of companies like us that raised in 21 with this super growth mindset, we were spending a lot of money, cash was easy, product market fit, because, the COVID brought to the explosion of digital business. We had some of the clients where we were doing the business for them that were growing at 30% per month. Okay. So of course, by tagging the insurance on that one, the growth was incredible in 21 for us. And then, after the COVID, business went down. And so we even had to reduce the cost base in 22. And in 23, we were in a moment where it was time to raise capital. We were not in an urgent situation, but it was time to raise capital. And at that moment, the VC money was not really available. So could I have found something? Potentially, yes. But first of all, from a pragmatic perspective, Zurich came, they were at the right moment, right timing, right valuation, right capital, right cash. So that was a very positive one. Secondly, when you start a business, at the beginning, you can get small deal because people don't trust you. You are a startup. And then with the small fish that you take, you use it back to take a bigger fish, and so on and so on. And with our switch of strategy to more towards more corporate customer, I think having like early stage VC would have not been enough
Yeah.
to give comfort to our client. Now we are in a situation where we could perfectly combine a growth VC, a private equity. So maybe the next fundraising will be about bringing a private equity, a growth VC, or whatever. But in 23, I think it was very difficult to get VC money.
Okay. Okay. Um, Again, talking about the scale, you scaled it. You talked about 150 employees now working at Qover at different locations. How do you um, how do you make sure that the company values the authenticity of the company when you launched it with two, you grow to 10 to 20 to 50, now you're with 150. How do you keep the spirit and the value or the authenticity of a startup alive while growing, while corporates come on board, while processes get into place, while yeah, the management expands? How do you face that challenge, and how do you tackle it?
It's a usual question. How do you build a culture? How do you keep a culture? And I think at the end, you don't build a culture. The culture is a consequence of who are the founders, how they behave, how they lead by example, what are their values, and so on and so on. And so at the end, yes, of course, we have built the official value of Qover that we like. We organize very nice offsites. We try to give autonomy to the people, to not be in micro-controlling and so on. But, you know, it's true that everyone that went through Qover systematically tell them, wow, this company has something special. I feel I was part of it. It was different. There is something amazing. But, you build it first by, I believe, the founder, but you don't really build it. It come as a consequence of who you are, how you behave. And also the early stage recruits are very important because those one, they will need to adhere to the culture and they will be the best ambassador going forward, and it grows, step by step and so on and so on. And so then if you rewind, it's a bit like the Big Bang. You don't understand how it could originate because, we are today where we are. The culture is still there. I think what does matter is to be very strong on what are your value. And typically, we have very strong value in terms of building a global safety net, in terms of, fair value, in terms of accessibility towards the client, and so on. And those values need to be reflected also in your business decision. Embedded insurance could be very powerful to protect people, but it could be also abused because in the past, a lot of companies were upselling insurance products that do not create value, were taking insane commissions, making a lot of money. That was a kind of scam. And there are still business doing that today, unfortunately. We typically refuse to do those kind of deals. And so if we would do those kind of deals, that would be not, aligned with our values, and then you will destroy your culture. And so the culture is set by who you are, the founder behave, but then your importance is to drive the business in a way that you respect your values, because if you breach your values, then the culture will fade out definitely.
Understand. Back to embedded insurance. You already talked about the fact that you're active in different sectors, from travel to car to
Banking.
bicycles, banking, etc. How do you keep track of the needs of the customers? Because it starts with a need. Uh, does it come from you as a founder, from the team, or how do you come up with a solution that tackles a certain need?
Well, I mean, and it goes back a bit on the vertical versus horizontal play, or broad you can be. I think, first of all, let's rewind. If you look to an insurance company, anyone, usually they IT solution is very static, not very flexible, and they will build a motor insurance product. And whether this motor insurance product is distributed via I don't know, Toyota, Tesla, BMW, that will be the same insurance product.
Yeah.
At Qover, by building this platform, configurable platform, low-code platform that can configure any type of insurance product, every time we sign a partnership, we will build a bespoke insurance product.
Okay.
Meaning the motor product we distribute via Tesla is different than the one with BMW or Volvo. And not only the insurance product, but the customer experience, the integration, the tone of communication, the templates, and so on. And so how do we do that? We first look at leading brands that really want to build something with insurance. And so we will connect with them to understand what are your persona, what are they looking for, what is your objective? Because, for example, the objective of a car manufacturer could be to reduce the total cost of ownership. Because typically, a car can be cheap, but for a young driver, the total cost of ownership, because insurance is very high, can be unpayable. Or OEM, they want to steer back the client to their own repair network. And so we really sit down first, not with the final client, but with the partner that know his client to build what the client needs.
Okay.
And then when we've built this, we also collaborate with an insurance company because we are not carrying the risk. And we leverage their expertise or expertise too to build the best solution we can do on the market. But because it's bespoke by partner, we can, of course, de facto work only with big clients. And it's true that for smaller clients, we need to move toward a more standardized solution.
Okay, cool. And looking at you personally as a consumer, what is something, and you know better than I, the insurance world, what is something you are lacking and you would like to see insured in your personal life? I don't have an idea, but you certainly must have an idea on that.
Yes and no. I think for me, the where it goes in that direction is that, something very difficult is that when you speak about insurance in any dinner, everybody will complain. Everyone will tell
Yes.
you, I had a scratch on my car and the insurance did not pay me because it was lower than the deductible. Yeah, okay. But is insurance truly about fixing a scratch on a car? You have people that have an accident and because of that, they will be in a wheelchair until the end of their life. Insurance can offer them a second chance for massive unlucky event. You have people that have cancer, and thanks to health insurance, hospitalization insurance, they have a kind of social security on steroid, which you don't have in other countries. This is what is insurance about. You have people that save all their life to buy a house, hoping to give this capital to their kids, and then there is a massive flooding, there is a fire, and if they don't have insurance, there is a systemic destruction of their wealth. And for me, insurance is about caring, protecting, enabling the market to operate, because you have factories that could have like a machinery breakdown and then the factory no longer work for 10 days. All the people would be without a job. Thanks to insurance, you have those kind of business continuity insurance. People can get paid and they are a source of income of a family and there is an ecosystem play here. So that's insurance is about this kind of global safety net. So is there like a product in particular? Not really, but there is more a behavior. And the behavior where we have an issue is that if you look at the new generation today, and we do the insurance of Conto, Revolut, Lydia, Monzo, Bank, those neobank, people want everything immediately. And they want to pay nothing, but you get everything. And when you file a claim, we will ask you some evidence, like, okay, but did you really bought the travel? Did you really cancel it? And so on. You need to investigate because they are fraud, but the majority of people are good people. But you cannot pay a claim in 1 second. But people want a refund in 1 second and they want a refund for everything. And so there is a problem of education and so on. But for me, where this lack of trust originates, it originates with a simple concept called the loss ratio. What is insurance? Insurance is about everyone put a bit of money in a bucket. And in this group of people, when there is an unlucky event for one of us, we will use this bucket to cover his loss and to help him. That's what is insurance. It's a kind of social security. And so insurance should be efficient if you maximize the payout. If I collect 100 euro, can I make sure that 95 is given back to the actual loss? And in reality, historically, you have had business that were taking 50, 60% of commission. Then the operational expenses of the insurance company was like 20%. And so at the end, out of those 100 euro, only 15 euro are going to the final client. This is what is unacceptable. And for me, the fight is to maximize the loss ratio. And by maximizing the payout, you are more efficient, you reduce the expenses, you reduce the commission, but you can also improve the coverage by making sure that people are covered for more than what they are covered today. But it's a change of mindset where maybe the regulator could intervene and they are pushing towards kind of banning commission or reducing commission, but we are still far away in many countries in that regard.
Okay, interesting. And you already talked about the fact that your customers in general or people nowadays tend to ask for quicker services, ask for claims to be handled on a minimum amount of time. There is this, and I know it's a bit a cliche question that I'm gonna ask now, but I'm gonna ask it. There is this AI tsunami that is rolling out in every kind of sector. What is the impact of AI on your business model? Because I assume that you can't miss that boat, and that you need to adopt AI in your business model to be competitive with your competitors.
So the impact is massive, and it's an interesting one. Usually, insurance industry are known to be laggard. They are always low in terms of adoption of new technology. And by the way, if you look at the fintech, because insurtech is a subset of fintech, if you look what did happen with the neobanks, with the payment industry, the same type of disruption seems to have not happened into the insurance industry. I think Gen AI, generative AI, is different for the insurance industry because by definition, insurance, you have a lot of operational work. You get questions from clients. Am I covered if I will go there? I have a claim, and often people will send documents, and you have a claim handler that need to open a lot of documents, find the right information, understand what is happening, take a decision to pay, do some check verification, and so on. With Gen AI, and we invest there since more than 2 years actually, we are having programs where we reduce these operational costs by more than 80%.
Okay.
Because first of all, you get all the documents, we can immediately extract all the info. We deal with customer in Swedish, in German, in Danish, speaking another language. Now with Gen AI, you don't need the economy of scale. It's super easy. It's super convenient. Building some automation path with extraction, with interaction, with a small agent that support each other, it's actually extremely powerful. And so actually, when you look at the company, and we tend to say, when you take an insurance company, there are like 10 floors. The top floor is the management, and the 9 other are the operational people doing operational tasks. Gen AI is truly transformative for those type of tasks. And this is incredible because, of course, on top, when you think about an insurance product, because it's regulated, all the processes are documented. The product, they are what you call terms and conditions that are a very complex wording, but that are very specific about what is the product about. And so you can very easily feed the AI with the right information because the documentation exists and the product is specified in a given frame. And this is what makes Gen AI super powerful for the administrative burden we have in insurance businesses.
Yes, but that also means that it has an impact on the jobs of your people, of certain people.
So I mean, that's the usual discussion about the disruptive innovation from,
But it's the same in law firms, huh?
Yeah, is the same in law firm. Absolutely.
You called me last week. Yeah. to check an advice written by ChatGPT. So,
No, but so I think
but how do you deal with that? Huh? Because okay, obviously it has an impact on jobs, and people might lose their job or might have to reconvert or specialize in another way to yeah to be able to adapt AI. Do you have a clear mission statement within Cover on how to deal with that?
So at this stage for us, and we have an advantage is, first of all, we only focus on the customer and the client. And we see Gen AI not as a cost reduction, but are getting a much better answer
Mhm.
and faster.
Okay.
So faster, it's very clear. And no thanks to that, we have deals where we are able to pay the client within 24 hours.
Okay.
With one of our partners, there is an SLA that claims it to be paid within 24 hours. That's not instantaneous, but it is amazing. And without Gen AI, we could not do that. And we really see that where Gen AI is deployed, the satisfaction score of the client goes significantly up because it's faster, it's better. Now, from an accuracy perspective, you will be shocked, but we are doing calibration and we look at the sample, what our internal people answer and what Gen AI would have answered. And the correctness of the answer, the accuracy, is the same.
Okay.
Because, we are human, and by definition, human make mistakes. So the first focus for us of AI is customer satisfaction, service, quality of service. The second part is we are scaling. So for us, it's not about redundancy or firing people. It's about the ability to be much more scalable, to grow more, and indeed to maybe hire less than we would have had to hire otherwise. But at the end, if we in insurance, we have to hire people to open documents, to check manually documents, who is paying at the end is the final consumer. And so I see more in the insurance sphere, I see more that too much of the money that you are paying for an insurance contract is wasted in some very low-level administrative task.
Yeah.
Looking at documents, getting something in German, translating, trying to extract the right info, and so on. And so for me, I want to fight against useless tasks. And so indeed, you will be in a situation where people will need to reconvert. There will be new job creation. There will be new type of task. But for me, I don't believe that we are making the right time of everyone and everyone's money too in paying high insurance premium to do a lot of very basic administrative tasks that have to be done.
Okay, cool. Then focusing a bit on your personal life without going into the details, but you told us, yeah, you have 3 kids. You're a founder. You're working on steroids for 10 years now by building your company. So I assume, yeah, you're constantly working, or you're constantly busy with thinking, reflecting about how can I build a company, etc. How do you keep the balance between the 3 kids, let's say the personal business and your professional life?
I'm laughing because I'm going tonight to Mallorca with my wife for days, but that's one part of the answer, I would say. So the reality is that let's be clear, there is no work-life balance. If you want to be an entrepreneur, forget about work-life balance.
Okay.
Because day and night, you will not sleep. You will think about your business. Even when you are on holiday, there will be always major problem, issues. It can occur at any time. It's always at the wrong moment, of course. And you are continuously stressed. You need to pay salary of people. You need to raise capital. You need to continuously think at strategy. You have problem with clients and so on. So it's a never-ending story. And no, there is no moment where you can switch off the brain. And for me, that's really tough because, sometimes when you have a corporate job, you are back at home, you can switch off and look back tomorrow at the next step. Not all corporate jobs have that, but most of them have that. When you are a founder and you run your business, it's never ending. And at the same time, when I started Qover, I had no kids. We are almost 10 years later, I have 3 kids. So at the same time, you scale your family, and scaling a family, it's take time. Means you are a lot of. It's very intense to be there for the weekend, do the things that you need to do at home, and so on and so on. And so reality is that if anyone say, "Oh, I want to be an entrepreneur with a work-life balance," bullshit. It cannot happen. It will not happen. It's working hard. It's not good for the health. It's tough. Sometimes we say, those entrepreneurs, they have a shiny hoodie. I did not put my hoodie today, but they have a shiny hoodie. But if they remove it on the skin, there are a lot of scar. Like from everywhere, and that's true. I think then the question is more, what are the little win you can find to have a bit of balance,
Mm-hmm.
not a work-life, a bit
Mm-hmm.
balance. And for me, it's first of all to try to, whenever I can, to go to the office by bike, because then you do sport, it's fresh, it's nice, you are outside, and that's much better than the stress. And then I would bike, listening some music or listening a podcast, and that's basically the unique moment in my day where I have the chance to listen to music or listen to a podcast. I try to run at least 20 kilometers per week, sometimes 30 kilometers, but even though it's not easy to find the moment, so it has to be early the weekend or late on the day. And last but not least, whenever there is a bit of free time, I don't hesitate to take a plane with my wife and with my kids and to travel. And of course, from abroad, I will be busy, I will have tasks, but I will use and abuse of traveling with my family. So I have moment to be with them to connect. Each time a period is a bit quieter than usual.
Okay, interesting.
So
And
that's why I'm going tonight
to
to
Mallorca.
Mallorca.
And besides everything insurance related, what inspires you in life?
Uh, I, first of all, I'm not sure I have enough time to reflect, and that's tough, huh?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you want to step back, and I love to say, if one day the adventure of Qover stops because I don't know, we change the CEO or we do an IPO or we are being
Mm.
acquired, I say I think I will need to take a decent burnout of 6 months. Like I will need to relax, be
A
re-energized,
sabbatical.
and take a sabbatical, something like this.
Okay.
Because I really feel I don't have enough time to step back. Know what inspired me the most? I think that it's listening to podcasts. There are really one podcast that I like, which is Generation Do It Yourself. It's
Mhm.
mainly in French, but also in English, by Mathieu Stéphanie. There is I forgot the name from Ralph guy, the US guy, build yourself, something
Mhm.
some that I also sometimes listen, and that's very inspirational because then you also get stories from other entrepreneurs, corporate people,
Yeah.
and that I really like, and it inspires me. On a personal note, actually, I'm super interested by quantum computing.
Okay.
So I try to read a lot in that matter. But again, it's always about finding times. And so since it's a very complex matter, sometimes it can be 1 week reading a lot. Then I don't for 3 weeks. And
Yeah.
then, because it's too complex, you need to start again from scratch.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's something that I'm really passionate because at the beginning, I'm an engineer. And sometimes what I'm missing is the true technical aspect of the things.
Yeah.
When you are a CEO and
Yes.
founder, you are very, general. You do general stuff.
Yeah.
You are a business person, and grasping the intellectual and technical challenges is something that is missing me at this stage.
Okay. Cool. And then we've come to an end of this podcast, and there's one question that we always ask to everybody we interview is, at Cresco we're a law firm, and we like to reflect on how to grow businesses, and in our opinion we do it. Entrepreneurs do it by building strong partnerships. If there's one party on the whole globe with whom you would set up a partnership, with whom would that be in your ideal scenario, in your dream?
It's a tough question in the sense that we've one slide in our commercial pitch deck where we show the logo of all our clients. again,
Yeah,
BMW,
makes sense.
Tesla, Mastercard, Deliveroo, Revolut, Monzo, Canyon by Cowboy.
Mhm.
And when I step back and I would be like, if 10 years ago you would have shown me these slides saying that's all your partners, I would have never believed you because it's much more than what I could ever dream of.
Mhm.
And furthermore, if I look to my commercial pipe, most of the big names, big companies that you would dream to have in your as a partner, they are actually part of our pipeline or we have very advanced discussions. So I could not find like a single client that I say I would love to work with. We have great partner, of course, with you, Olivier,
Yeah.
since 10 years.
Yes,
We were
yes,
discussing that earlier
indeed.
today. That's amazing to partner with Cresco since 10 years and very happy, and we will continue. Um, but then I'm more at a certain moment, I'm looking also what is happening in the tech ecosystem. And
Mhm.
for example, this winter circus in Ghent is super interesting. And you see a lot of founders that are kind of stepping back and saying, I want to build the tech ecosystem. I want to push Belgium to build the champion of tomorrow. And let's be clear, the entrepreneurial scene in Belgium is very weak. If we compare to the French community,
Mhm.
to the UK, to Germany, I'm surprised to which extent I'm a bit very stressed that we don't build the champion of tomorrow. Of course, we have incredible example like Odoo, but that's more like the exception to the general rule of thumb. And so my point would be, is there a way to partner with the Belgian government and the European government, because I'm a European person,
Mhm.
but I love Belgium too, to bring a much better level of awareness about how to build the tech champion of tomorrow, how to incentivize the entrepreneurial scene.
Mhm.
And let's be clear, if you ask me today, Quentin, would you rebuild the business in Belgium? My answer would be no.
Okay.
Would be no because, I'm proud to be Belgian. And being a Belgian company oblige you to build something pan-European from day one. But I have not seen enough support, incentive, or a mindset to push entrepreneur to be entrepreneur to create the champion of tomorrow. Uh, and they are changing laws, they are changing vision that are actually difficult to navigate. The fiscal environment is changing all the time, and actually it's not positive for the ecosystem. And so my dream would not be to work with Bill Gates or to allow to Elon Musk or whatever, but with the Belgian
Yeah.
government to build the next generation of entrepreneurs in Belgium and put Belgium in the center of the global map of disruptive technologies and innovation.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. But there, I think two things to add. The first thing you say, okay, the entrepreneurial spirit or the tech scene in Belgium is not that strong. Is
It's becoming
very,
stronger. Huh?
it's
There are some
becoming
great
stronger.
things
It's
happening.
becoming
Huh?
stronger. Isn't that just also a bit the Belgian mentality that we're too humble compared to the French or other European countries? That's one thing. On the other side, I understand, and that's a frustration that pops up regularly within the Belgian tech scene, that they feel the government is not a real trustworthy party. What do you think on short term could could be improved to give a little push further on the Belgium ecosystem? You talked about the tax regimes.
But let's first answer the first question.
Mhm.
So first of all, what do you need to have to build champion of tomorrow? You usually need three things. Huh? You need the capital. In the past, capital was not there, but
Yeah.
today in Europe there are plenty of capital. Is no
Mhm.
longer an issue. You need a great infrastructure. Doing business in remote country under development is much more difficult than here.
Mhm.
And in Belgium, let's be clear, the general infrastructure, the connection to the different countries is incredible. And you need the talent. And let's be clear, we have amazing universities
Mhm.
with unique talent. And so some of the three key factors are there. But indeed, the mindset. And the mindset is also, it's in the education. How do you teach at school to be more entrepreneur? How do you teach at university to be more entrepreneur? I have the chance to teach entrepreneurial finance at UCL in the first and second year of master. Um, and I really see that maybe my way of teaching is quite different than the usual Belgian way of teaching. I don't say it's better, it's just different, and you need those different perspectives. We are too often pushed to go to traditional corporate career, and I believe it's key to start with corporate career because you need to learn the business world. You need to have a good mentor to start, and then afterwards you can maybe build something. But the mindset is, when I launch indeed Qover, everybody around me was like, what are you doing? Doesn't make sense. Or then you have a kind of jealous behavior for some people if you are a bit successful. And so for me, yes, indeed. And how do you change a culture, a mindset? You continue to be an open economy, and Belgium is one of the best open economy. But you should, from the education, from yourself in your own behavior, whenever there are success stories, you should spread them. You should dare to show off a bit, and that success should be recognized. I think that's key. And then when you ask on how could we ask from the authorities or the government, look, an example was and again, I don't like to say we need to get subsidies, because then everyone need to get subsidies, and part of the entrepreneurship is to fight yourself. And it's actually key to not get too much capital neither, so you can be creative in finding the right solution. But I give the example on the copyright that we know for the software engineer. And I was there like 3 years ago. We were in front of the Minister of Finance with all the French and Dutch-speaking entrepreneurs. And let's be clear, they could not care, they did not understand the importance. And so they withdraw this copyright for whom we as Qover had a ruling. And the administrative burden and complexity and follow-up was terrible. We had to raise people, we had to do a lot of administrative stuff. And that was a lot of waste of energy, waste of time. And now it's coming back.
Yeah.
But you know what? It will come back in 26. We want to have a ruling, but the law is not yet ready. The law might be voted in January, but then it's too late to start as 1st of Jan. So once the law will be there, we will finally get visibility. We will then need to obtain a ruling that we had in the past, but and the fact that the law is not ready today, sorry, it's a bit of shit show. It doesn't help. Those kind of things do not help.
Yeah.
And Belgium is a sum of all those small things.
Okay.
And what need to change is to try to get more stability, but have also, people that really want to embrace disruptive innovation at the regulator level, at the government level, at the tax authorities level, and maybe, trying to create a work group with Belgian entrepreneurs. And there are some things happen left and right, but it's still too weak. You could also say that a lot of entrepreneurs are not enough involved in that. But we are trying to fight to get our business to live and survive. So it's not an easy one. But I think, I was very impressed by when I went to France and I met the one Secretary of State. It was Cédric O, but he's no longer in the government. And he was one of the guys that decided with Macron to build 25 unicorns at a certain moment. And they built those more than 25 unicorns. And they put in place the PPI.
Yeah.
And what is the BPI doing? Every time a French company is raising capital, they basically match and they double the amount.
Okay.
Every time a VC fund is raising capital, they actually match and almost double the amount too. And so at the end, it creates a kind of flow of money, because a lot of external investors, US money, Asian money, are flowing to France because they know that it will be matched, so they get more capital, more firepower to fight, to create value, and so on. And the BPI, for me, and the decision of the government to have this BPI to invest and build those unicorn is actually what changed the entire game. And we have the SFPI in Belgium, but it's not the same way. It's not working like this. It's different. And I don't say it's bad, but it's a strategic decision. But if the strategic decision is to continue like this, we will not build the future tech champion of tomorrow in Belgium.
Okay. Very interesting. And thank you very much for this interesting talk. Yeah, I wish you a pleasant holiday in Mallorca. And yeah, again, thank you.
Thank you, Olivier.